This morning, there is a new chapter being written in the Anna Nicole Smith saga as California state investigators raid the homes of doctors who provided prescription drugs to the model before her accidental overdose in February. Those raids could take the investigation in a whole new direction.
The Department of Justice today served search warrants at various doctors' offices, billing locations, and residences in Los Angeles and Orange County. The locations that were searched today relate to doctors who prescribed medical treatment or prescribed drugs for Anna Nicole Smith or her associates. On March 30th of this year, the California Department of Justice commenced an investigation into circumstances surrounding the death of Anna Nicole Smith, including the prescribing and dispensing practices of several California licensed doctors and pharmacies. The Department of Justice is spearheading this investigation, but it's doing so with the cooperation of the California Medical Board, the Department of Insurance, the USDA, the Seminole Tribal Police, and the Royal Bahamian Police Force. There are various issues here. There are the violations of the practice code for physicians, and of course then there are other potential criminal charges.
So what kind of criminal charges could these doctors and pharmacists be facing? Joining us now are attorneys Tom Simeone and Michael Ysasaga. Tom, I'll begin with you. There seem to be two principal players in this case. One is Sandeep Kapoor, and another is Dr. Eroshevich. What do we know about them?
Well, we know that Dr. Eroshevich is the one who is probably most at issue here. She was a psychiatrist. Of the 11 medications found with Anna Nicole Smith when she died, she had prescribed all of them. Plus, she was very, very close to Anna Nicole Smith. She had been witnessing a lot of the grief she went through. Apparently, they lived together. And when the search warrant on her property was actually executed, Howard K. Stern was at the house. So she remains friends with him and was very close to Anna Nicole Smith.
And what about Sandeep Kapoor?
He is a doctor in L.A., apparently has a lot of celebrity clients. He inherited Anna Nicole Smith. And the only particular medication that we know that he prescribed for her was methadone. And we don't think methadone is actually implicated in her death. So of the two, odds are Eroshevich is probably more on the hot spot right now.
Let's bring in Michael Ysasaga. What kind of charges potentially could these two doctors face?
I think the lesson number one is just because your supplier has an MD behind his name doesn't mean that he's not a dope dealer. And just because you've got a script for your drugs doesn't mean it's not illegal. The state can show, given the actual awareness of the risk to Anna Nicole, they can show negligent homicide. Now that requires that the state to prove that they were reckless, that they had an actual or constructive awareness of the risk to Anna Nicole Smith's life and, of course, a death. Now, there isn't anybody, I think, that can argue with a straight face that they didn't have at least some awareness. Now, I'm talking about lay people, some awareness that Anna Nicole Smith was at risk for overdosing. But when you're talking about a doc who was living with, is her traveling companion, was living with Anna Nicole Smith, I think that the state can absolutely prove negligent homicide.
Do you think it's going to be that easy, Tom, to show negligent homicide? Is it going to be that easy to show intent in this case?
I think it's going to be a little tricky, and I'll tell you why. When Anna Nicole Smith died, there were medications in her system other than the ones that Dr. Eroshevich gave her. She had human growth hormones. The medical examiner ruled this an accidental death, meaning that there was no foul play, and it doesn't look like they fed medication to someone who was suicidal and so forth. And she obviously cared a lot about Anna Nicole Smith. Whether it be a friend or she was a hanger-on and Anna Nicole Smith was her claim to fame, it's going to be hard to prove she had any intent to act reckless. And the recklessness, the intent required isn't simply a mistake or incompetence. You have to prove a little more. I'm
going to bring Michael back in. We've got some incredible paper trail here. The California Attorney General, Jerry Brown, said yesterday that they had gone through 100,000 records. How is that, in your opinion, going to hurt or help the case against these doctors?
Oh, it's going to help. It's going to make the case. It's not just going to help. Because one of the things that under the California law, you do not have to show criminal intent. That is not what you have to show. All you have to show is there was the docs had an actual or constructive awareness of the risk to her life. There isn't anybody, especially doctors, who didn't know this. I think the state can absolutely show it. These guys need to go down. If this was a, and let me remind everybody out there that a $10 hit of crack is a felony, a state felony out there, and yet you've got 600 scripts for various drugs to her. I don't care what else. I don't care if she had human growth hormones. I don't care what she had in her body. These guys need to go down.
Michael Ysasaga and Tom Simeone, thank you for being our guests.
Thank you.
At least 4 people are now under arrest as part of a statewide ID theft investigation in Rhode Island. Earlier this week, 2 DMV workers were busted for selling fake IDs to illegal immigrants and suspected